What's up, Infected, and welcome to the Kwarenteen. This is Kickstart Your Week. So if you're not familiar with what that is, this is my weekly show that I cover Kickstarters from the previous week in the board game section that I thought looked interesting. Now, I don't have any hard, fast rules on what I select. It's really just what sparked my interest and what caught my eye at the time, and I narrowed down to a maximum of 10 that I thought looked interesting, because I only have so much time and there are so many Kickstarters that come out every week. I don't have the time to be able to cover all of them, so I don't cover any more than 10, but sometimes it's less if less games caught my eye that week. Now, if you like this segment, definitely check out the Game Marauder. I'll have a link down in the description that'll take you to the Game Marauder site. Now, the Game Marauder is the only board game-centric curators for Kickstarter, which is pretty cool. I do, a lot of the time I do a weekly podcast with them. The guys are really cool, and it's just all around a lot of fun. We just kind of BS about board games that we liked from previous weeks, similar to this show actually. But rather than covering a bunch of them, we each just cover one and we talk about a little more in detail why we thought it was really cool. But anyways, let's dive right into the list. Alright, my first game on the list is Spy Club. Now, first and foremost, the artwork for this game is beautiful, and that's actually what initially caught my eye. But this is a very cute, like, family weight spy game where you and all the other players are a bunch of neighborhood kids, and you're trying to cooperate to solve these mysteries. One of your neighbors maybe broke into something, but what do they break in with and why? And so you have this deck of cards, and you're going to be burning through that deck of cards, and that's how you're going to reveal the mystery and try to uncover it. And you're going to be trying to match certain colors and symbols or something along those lines in order to accomplish certain tasks to figure out what actually, what the neighbor maybe used, or who was it, or anything like that. So it allows you to reshuffle everything and pretty much play a completely different game next time. The different events are going to come out. It's going to maybe be a different actual case or mission, essentially, that you're trying to do. And I thought that was a really interesting premise. Clue being one of my favorite, old school kind of deduction style games where somebody's been murdered and you're trying to figure out who. And it kind of has that vibe, but a bit more family weight. Now, next up is Snallygaster. Now, Snallygaster, first off, has a sci-fi theme, so that definitely caught my eye. But it's kind of like a hidden trader, like a small card game-driven hidden trader game. Which, if any of you guys know me, know that I love hidden trader games. So this one immediately caught my eye. And it's got kind of that Dead of Winter kind of theme to it, where everybody has an objective card, and this is how you're going to gain points. So some of your objective cards might be, helpful. You're trying to help everybody. You get bonus points for everybody that's alive at the end, and yada yada yada. But you also maybe get dealing out negative ones. Now you get plus 3 points for everybody that's dead, but minus 1 point for everybody that's still alive. So now it behooves you to get everybody killed. But the game runs on a system, what do they call it? A objective system, where you're drawing these cards similar to, like Crises or anything like that. So you're drawing these cards, and you're going to choose one of them to, I guess, enact, or maybe add to a deck or something like that. And that's kind of what's going to drive the game forward, along with these action cards that you're going to be using. And the ultimate goal, you're trying to collect enough energy to be able to launch the escape pods. And once you launch the escape pods, everybody tallies up the score, and whoever has the most score wins. And I thought that was a really clever design. Whether or not it winds up pulling off and being a fun game is a different story. But overall, that concept sounded really cool, with hidden trader games being that and deck builders are my two favorite genres. Now, next up is a game called Iron Wars. Now, Iron Wars, I'm a big fan of, mecha. And this one looks like Armored Core meets like a Mech Warrior style game on a, like level 99, not level 99, level 7 Omega Protocol, or, what is it called? Imperial Assault style board. So you're going to build these boards, I guess, depending on the scenario that you're playing. And you're going to try to accomplish missions, whether it's blow up other mechs, or whether it's, get here, get this, get out. And there's a co-op like campaign style mode where it's just PvE, and the game has an AI deck, I guess, that controls everything. But then you can also play a competitive where it's like an arena shooter, similar to, again, like Armored Core and like online PvP Mech Warrior. And I thought that looked really neat, and the minis look gorgeous, and all the artwork looks really, really pretty as well. Next up is a game by the name of Dice of Pirates. Now, Dice of Pirates honestly looks like a retheming of Dice of Crowns, which I still own. And I did not recently, but I did review this, I want to say, I don't know, 6 months ago, maybe longer, 8 months ago, I don't know. But I did review this, and it's a really fun game. So even if it is just a retheming, a pirate theme of Dice of Crowns, I recommend definitely picking it up. Even if there isn't any tweaks, the game is really fun. It's a good, fun, light little just dice chucker. It's a lot of luck, but when you play with some of the variants, it allows you to mitigate some of that luck. So we had a blast with the game, and this looks like just a pirate-themed version of Dice of Crowns. Now, last thing on my list, which I was unsure whether or not I wanted to put it on here or not, but this is the Everlasting Wet Palette. Now, I like to paint my minis when I have time. I don't really have time nowadays anymore, but when I do, I recently, within the past year, I think, discovered a wet palette. Which, if you don't know what a wet palette is, it's when you're painting your minis, rather than putting paint out on the out on a paper or painting out of your jars, and they eventually dry out. And you have to make sure you close them and everything. Instead, you use something like this. Now, this isn't the Everlasting Wet Palette at all, but this is my wet palette. And you basically pull it out, and my sponge is bone dry, but you're going to wet this sponge, put it here, and it's going to match the inside of this. And then you're going to put a piece of parchment paper over it, so that way you're going to put your paints on that, so your paints won't dry out anymore. The parchment paper will allow enough moisture to soak through it to keep your paints nice and moist. And I've painted from the same wet palette for a week without adding any new paint. None of it dried out. And if you paint minis and you don't have a wet palette, invest in a wet palette. And this, the Everlasting Wet Palette, looks just pretty much like this, except for the fact that I think I paid $20 for this, and their base pledge is $35, which isn't bad, because you get it looks like you get a wet palette, and you get custom, so rather than going out and getting parchment paper and having to cut it to size and all that jazz, you get paper that's designed just for this, and then another little paint tray thing that you can use like inks and washes and stuff in that. And I thought that was a spectacular deal. If I didn't already have this, I would probably kickstart this in a heartbeat, and I still might, because it looks like a really, really nice wet palette. So if you paint minis at all, definitely check this one out, because a wet palette is a life changer, I promise you. Now, I know I talk super highly about this. I don't know a lot about the project. It's not a paid endorsement or anything. It's just I paint a lot of minis, or at least I used to when I had time. I swear by a wet palette. I wish I would have discovered this years ago. It would have saved me probably several $1,000s in paint that it dries out, very, very quickly. So just gonna throw that out there. This is not a paid endorsement. I know I talk super highly about it, but I don't know the quality of their product. I do just know that wet palettes are amazing. Definitely check this out, or go buy a wet palette. And that are my games for the week. As you notice, there's only 5 there, and they're really the only ones that really jumped out at me this week. So if you're new here, definitely hit that subscribe button down there. Stick around. Make sure you leave a comment as well if you have any questions, comments, concerns, criticism, whatever. Leave that down in the description. I try to answer any question that is put down there. If you'd like this format and you'd like to support the show, I have a Patreon up here and down in the description. Any little bit of support would help. I also have a tip jar down in the description as well if you're afraid of commitment and still would like to support. It allows for a one-time donation. Again, any little bit of support definitely helps and is appreciated. If not, definitely sit back, relax, enjoy the videos. Even that helps, of course. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time in the Quarantine.